Alright, so for part 3 of our video, we're going to do The Shadows of the Past, which was the original version. So it's City Fall and Changing Constant. Basically, a quick story was Shadows of the Past was made. It did really pretty well, I guess. I don't know the exact numbers or any of that stuff. But then somewhere along the line, the creators decided to relaunch the game, and they re-updated everything into Changes Constant and City Fall. So it still follows the IDW comic books. It was at the time when they were going on. But, of course, it was earlier in the run, so they had less material to go with. But it kept the same idea with, like, the deck of cards for the characters, the dice, the tokens, all that stuff stayed the same. They just updated some of the different things in there. I believe it pretty much, just a quick glance here, it should be pretty much backwards compatible. Now, if you have this, obviously, then you have all the maps and all this stuff. Now, you should be able to use all the same character cards, because I believe all the stats and all the character cards are the same, with maybe an exception if they had to tweak something, because, like, the rule didn't make sense or a new rule came up. But the other thing is this only had versus mode. It didn't have the AI stuff. So you had to play as Shredder and the Foot Clan, and stuff like that. And then the tiles looked a little bit differently. So I don't know if, again, if they'll 100% line up 1-to-1. But that's kind of what we're going to take a look at. Not look at that. We're going to look at the scenarios and stuff in here. So this doesn't have a breakdown of the terrain like the other books do. Like the other books, you've watched my other videos where they just had, like, what all the different terrain did. Instead, what they did in this one was we had cards for, it's like a little sewer symbol on the back. There's actually kind of a neat little idea. So instead of having just that one sheet, I guess, they had little cards that went with each one. So it tells you in the book which cards to use. So I will kind of hold these up, and we'll kind of just do a brief look over. So you have slow terrain, rough terrain. So they still have the yellow or red lines behind them, the same as the other games do. Elevated terrain 2, and how to climb. It's also neat because it shows you if it costs something to do it. Unstable terrain, grind rails. Covered terrain and taking cover. Obscuring terrain, harmful terrain. Blocking terrain, crouch. Locked doors, so how to unlock doors. Throwing objects and throw object. How to do that, so you throw little sewer lids. And we have cameras here, how cameras work. So that's basically what they had for those. Alright, so then what we're going to do is now we have a set of 3 little books. So we're going to go through all 3 in this video. We have book 1 and 2, book 3 and 4, and then we have the Kickstarter battles. So we're going to do the same thing we've done with the previous videos, is we will read on how to do each one of them. I'll zoom back out a little bit here. It's going to tell you your win condition, villain setup, specials, and terrain setup. Our table of contents. So we're going to start with the Battle in the Shadows and the Turtle Hunt, which each one have about 4 extra little battles in each one, but they're like one main story. So book 1 gradually introduces kind of like the tutorial. So we still have the artwork and everything from the original IDW comic book. So here we'll have our special rules, our strength modifiers, our objectives, our winning. If the hero wins, you do this. This actually took a little bit different route than the newer versions, because the newer ones, you basically played battle 1, 2, 3, 4 right in a row, no matter what. If you won, great. You sometimes got a bonus. You lost, that sucks. You sometimes got a penalty. Then you move to battle 2. This one instead, if you win battle 2, you go to battle 2. If you lose, you go right to battle 3. So it kind of creates more of a branching or narrative path. And it tells you what terrain cards to bring with. Just so that way, oh, okay, these are the ones that are going to be in there as a reminder. And if leaders for the deck, there are none. What minions to bring? It's going to say bring 5 of these guys with these 3 colors, plus a regroup. And then we're going to have our boards. We have map tile 6A. Show you where your 4 heroes go, where all the different villains go. And then we have map tile B. And there's your goal. So basically, now the newer version might not have these exact map setups, but you can definitely see. Okay, we do have probably one that has rails on the side. We straight with rails. We do have one that probably has this. I think they kept most of them fairly the same. They may have moved like a building or a spot here or there, but they should be close enough that you can definitely make one. So like this is 2 buildings. I'm sure there's a tile that's pretty much the same as that. Alright, then we have Battle 2, Back to the Source. No special rules. Then both these take you to set 4. And there's our terrain cards. Now, there were also less characters at this time, so like you might see some of these missions kind of recreated in the newer version, but although they are recreated in the newer version, they're not going to be the exact same, just because there's less characters. Some of them have more option, more different foot soldiers, more leaders, more areas, things like that. So here we're playing basically that same starting zone, and then we're going over into this big giant red room. So a little bit less extra detail, like on the walls and stuff like that, but it's still definitely playable. We'll make sure it's 6A and 4B. Yeah, so part of the purpose of showing this off is because maybe you want to play these extra different modes or adapt them to your new game. Special rule. The Footy Clan may move off the board from the goal space to the adjacent space at the end of the round just before spawning. The villain adds their choice 1 Thug, Gunner, Brawler, or Foot Clan Ninja. Interesting. So you gotta keep adding extra characters. But yeah, like here it's like you won the other one, you went to Battle 4. If you lost the first one, you went to 3, and instead now you'll head to 4 either way. But the villains are going to potentially have a better and better chance. So it's going to make the game a little bit harder. No bosses. A couple of different figures. Map tile 3B. Trying to make sure I get some of that glare off of there. Big spawn zones. Like, this is a difference. One thing they updated was it added, they just have spawn zones and goals listed on here, where the newer version then has, tiles and like tokens for some of that stuff. And we have some more story, which you don't want to get too much into. The Mysterious Benefactors. And then Heroes Win or Villains Win. And then we see what happens. And this will add some cameras. So now there's a this one there's like one of the other game that's pretty much the same. So we have the first room here. You enter, it has all the cameras you have to dodge, it has the table you have to get over. Next tile 3A. And then we go into the other zone. So now we have to play some guys. Now in that one though, I don't think you fought I don't think you fought Old Hob and Aelopets. I think you fought someone else. I have to grab the book and compare, which I'm not going to do at this time. Alright, we have book number 2. We have Turtle Hunt. Kind of need to give them little symbols as well. Alright, so battle number 1. Let's lose them. So yeah, Street Fights are elite men, so they have extra bonuses. And again, go to Battle 2 or go to Battle 3. This is, the villains win. The thugs die away cleanly. The villains have to work harder to find the gang's hideout. So the idea is, if they play through, like, 1, 2, 3 that way, then they'll gain extra bonuses for winning. Versus if they lose, they'll just have to go farther in, but they won't have that additional chance for bonuses. So there's tile 3B. Tile 5B. Some big goals there. Alright, cat and mouse. And we have So if they win this one, now they get proceed to battle 3, but they can call upon ally. But if they lose again, they win the last one, they win this one, potentially they could lose and cause extra trouble. So we're going to fight Old Hob again. You know, I could go back and forth on which way I like better. Like, this setup with, like, the little pictures and the color decks is kind of a little bit neater than just doing, like, the red and green listing. But, yeah, it's also like, The other ones are definitely have a lot more interesting things. Like, they could go either way. So we have our 4 heroes are separated on the 2 tiles. You get knocked into the whirlpools. I do like that they updated on the newer map that they just put borders around the outside of things instead of through every grid. Just because it makes the board look cleaner. So here we have Battle 3. We have Outfoxed. Fight Alopex. So basically, we've just been fighting Alopex and Old Hob in here. We're going to get some Foot Brutes. We have 5A. We have 1A, which I'll add some cameras. There's a door lock in there. And then we have... So 4A and 4B. So I have to see. Special says the figure pool is different for this scenario depending on whether you've been instructed to proceed to 4A or 4B. It's kind of neat. So depending on which way you win or what you did, you'll fight different characters. So if you're fighting 4A, you're going to fight Old Hob by himself and a couple of thugs. And then now if you look at this, this is almost the tutorial from the other game. So here's your door that you come through. But yeah, you start on the railroad tracks and you go up the spikes. And I think that one you're actually fighting Alopex, not Old Hob, which is almost the tutorial level. The end of book 1 is almost a tutorial level for that. And then this is you fight B instead. So now this one you are fighting Alopex, but you're fighting foot ninjas instead. So it's kind of neat. So it's like, depending on which route, which I end up being, you're fighting the same map, except one you're fighting Hob and thugs, the other one you're fighting Alopex and ninjas. Which that could be a really neat, just like mechanic to have added into the other game as well. Like, if they made more of a branching campaign mode, could be like, hey, if you lost stuff, like, here's one thing that gets harder. We're going to swap out all your, there's awesome people that worked on the game. They could be like, yeah, we're going to swap out your, the enemies. So instead of fighting gunners, now they've been upgraded to foot. You know, maybe something different like that. Alright, books 3 and 4. So we have Rat Trap and Prelude to the Fall. So Rat Trap with a foot symbol for purple. I think it's called color coded as well, kind of. Rat Napped. So this is going to start getting into some of the more same rules, or not rules, but like matches that were in the other scenarios. I think like the first couple were kind of by themselves. So here now we're adding cries. Now we're adding a little bit more difficulty to this. Adding 2 leaders. And this kind of also mimics the tutorial as well. Now we're on the outside of the subway. Like we went through it, we came through the stairs, and we're on the subway heading into the streets. Turtle Parkour. Two containers on the map represent a roof of a small pagoda built over the wading pool. Their elevated terrain as shown. So that's kind of neat. I don't know if there's any direct mission like that in the other one that has anything like that. So it's kind of neat. So it's showing like you can run across, like you have to go from rooftop to rooftop. So we're gonna have Cry up there, and then we have some foots. very shiny book. We have map 3B, and we have map 6A. Well, that'd definitely be a neat idea too, just for a separate story. Like have a bunch of the rooftops strung together, and you have to like race across the top of them. Maybe you have to like outrun the bad guys, but like they get extra movement so they can catch up to you quicker. Be kind of a neat idea. Alright, so we have another Cry and some minions. Spawn zone on map 2B. And there's the docks map 1B. And you can definitely see a lot of these are very similar to the updated version. The Quiet Way. The doors on the map are unlocked and have no effect. Each time a camera is alerted, advance the round 1 forward. No turns are skipped. Simply add any figures to the pool as directed on the next page. This part of the subway track is unused. No chance of electrocution on the third rail. So yeah, I noticed they have the third rail. I don't remember that as a rule. Maybe I'll look that up in a minute. So this is kind of neat here. And they have a couple of times this happens in the other one, but I think it happens more in the Batman game versus the Turtles game. But this is actually a good concept as well. So as the game progresses, the villains get added later versus early on. So if you take too much time doing stuff, you're going to have to fight harder and harder guys. Map 4B. So you kind of you fight that room, and then you get to run into the thing. They put the cameras, I think, on the words that said third rail. But yeah, you have to get through there into the other zones. It's the other direction. Alright, the noisy way. So if you're doing the quiet way, you're trying to sneak past some cameras. Or you can opt to do it the noisy way. Yeah, this is neat. This is like the other thing where you have like the 4A and 4B. Like, because it's giving you options on how to kind of play the game, right? It's a neat way to do a campaign. Do you want to go a quiet way? Maybe there's easier enemies to fight, but maybe you have to dodge around cameras, so you have to do more movement. Or do you want to straight up brawler? So it's just got rid of all the cameras, and now you're just really fighting a lot harder guys. And that's definitely a neat way to play this game. Alright. Prelude to the Fall. Alright. Casey Jones is not playable in this one, of course. Yeah, it's cool. Full mode where we can't. Now we're getting some of those. So I believe, like, the original, if I remember right, the original game, it was like, you got the 4 turtles in the box, and then you could pick up either Kickstarter-wise to there or expansions. You could get Splinter, April, and Casey, but you didn't get them initially. Where then, when the new updated version came out, they put some turtles in one box and Splinter, April, and some of those guys in the other box. That way, you could opt which way you wanted to play, or you could definitely pick them up. So you have the Trappist set. Special rule, Raphael has to use a certain move. No bosses. Bunch of ninjas. And we're gonna go tile 4A, which I don't think we've been on tile 4A yet. And then we'll have 6A, which we've been through a couple of times. Alright, we have a friend in need. So token represent Casey. Fight Shredder. Some foot ninjas. And tile 5B. City streets into the dock. What I don't like about the dock is that almost every time it's this direction, right? Like, there's not a lot. I think there was more stuff in the updated game where there's more dock tiles where you could have, like, one sideways, but this one's always the one direction. Which makes it a little less interesting. Now, this one goes right into Battle 3. It doesn't have a special picture. And then we have a full page of resolving Battle 3. So you have major hero victory, minor hero victory, major villain, and minor hero. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. So, basically, did you rescue Casey or did you not? Or did the villains win and you didn't rescue Casey, or the villains win but you did manage to rescue Casey? That's kind of a neat idea too. They didn't really play around too much with that in any of the other sets, but that could kind of be an interesting thing that could have been added. Was like, again, alternate win conditions, as well as make sure I didn't skip a page here. Yep. Like alternate win conditions like that. You already had branching paths. You could take this battle, go to this battle. I do get the downside of that though too. Is if you start skipping some, she's like, oh, if we do bad, then we lose out on a mission versus getting to play everything. But having alternate win condition would be kind of neat, the major and minor. But I could also see where that could get really frustrating or make it really hard to what's my brain trying to say? Make it hard to play this with anything. Like, if you wanted to make this more customizable. But, although with this, again, it's because they only had 4 main, with the original version here, they only had the 4 main characters. You had the 4 turtles, and you could get 3 extra characters as add-ons, or extra, like, expansion packs. And then even the core box only had the 4 villain leaders. So there wasn't a lot of, like, I'm going to swap this out to do this, do that. So basically, you're just playing the game as the turtles through the storyline. Now, you could customize your own stuff, but if it has Shredder as a thing, you only have so many options. If it had Shredder and Cry, you only have so many options of people to switch out. Whereas the newer versions then added all of the extra additional villains, because we added, Slash and Bebop and Rocksteady, who are part of, some of these guys are part of the Kickstarter stuff as well. But again, if you didn't get the Kickstarter, you didn't get all that. But then they added a bunch of extra characters. So alright, so the last thing we're going to look at are the Kickstarter battles. So this is stuff that had exclusive content from the Kickstarter version. But again, if you own the newer updated version, you might be able to apply some of this. So the basic Kickstarter version, just to show off here, had April and Casey as extra players. Had some extra campaign scenarios, as well as some battle guides for villains. Plus Bebop and Rocksteady. And then the full Works Edition, which is everything, also added Splinter and some Mousers. Ultimate Shredder, some different Bebop, Rocksteady, and some different stuff there. I've done an unboxing. If you want to take a look at that, go ahead. This is just kind of stuff. So we do have 4 different modules in here to play as well. Save the Studio, Rooftop Rush, Mousers, and Bebop and Rocksteady Destroy Everything. Alright, so Save the Studio. This is a special one. Now, this is the only one you 100% can't actually do without this version of the game. And we'll get to that in a minute. When we get to that part. So we're going to start off, we get Alopex in here. So we're going to add Alopex to fight against. We get another major villain, which helps out. Well, this one's not too different than some of the other ones we fought. We have Tile 6A out in the street. And then we're going to move into the building. There's nothing in there, just straight up battling. Then we have Forever Allies. So you have a special icon that represents Kevin Eastman on the map, who is the one of the original creators of the Ninja Turtles. So that's just kind of fun here. I love the heroes win. Order a pizza. If the villain wins, put anchovies on the pizza. Except the turtles like anchovies. Anchovies, peanut butter, and mushrooms. So we're gonna fight Shredder. We have some foot minions. We have tile 5B, which is our office space. And then we have Kevin Eastman's Kickstarter art room. So this is the only thing that's, you're not going to be able to play it 100% as if you don't have it, because you won't have this tile. Now, this is fairly easy to recreate, though, because there's 2 yellow tiles, which are just rough terrain or whatever. You can climb up on them, and then they have 3 red ones. Then you just put a token there. Otherwise, it's just the same as a basic room. So you could, either put tiles down on one of the blank rooms that match that, or do whatever. This is actually a really cool tile because it's supposed to recreate his actual office, which is really neat. So that's the only one that's a little bit different. Now, some of these are kind of neat because they're supposed to special campaigns that in the capture the iconic battles of the Ninja Turtles and the Shredder have had for the past 30 years. This is supposed to re-represent the Mirage versions. The original. That's why we have the black and white Shredder. So that's kind of cool there too. So you have hot on their tails. So it's going to have a similar feel to some of the other maps. Again, there's only so many tiles. So you had one like this where you have them pagodas starting off that you're supposed to be able to climb on, which is a really neat way to use the container tokens to cover bridging gaps. 3B and 6A. I think that would have been a fun way to have several rooftops separated with just those 2 containers. So big area to fight, and then you had to run across 2 things to get across, or you had to try using some sort of leaping or jumping action. If you failed, though, you'd fall and take extra damage or have to spend time trying to climb back up. Kind of interesting. This ends now. Battle number 2. Only 1 map tile is used for this battle. There's nowhere left to run. So this one, we're just going to get Shredder on the one side, Foot Ninja on the other side, and 1 big tile. Yeah, definitely interesting one there. And this is a Kickstarter exclusive tile as well, so there might not, which more or less just a big giant empty room. But it's probably the back side of the one other tile. Then we have Mousers we're going to fight with the shell icon. So this also goes back. So you've had Mouser battles in the newer updated packs. Just there's going to be their version of those. No villain player was used for this scenario. Instead, the Mousers function as described on their villain sheets. This is the first idea they had for AI-type characters. End of the battle. Tell me how many focus tokens are on the Mouser villain sheet. This is the hero score for the battle. The higher score, the better they did. So it's kind of neat. So it adds an AI version of the game. So we have no leaders, and we have 15 Mousers. But it also adds one of the things, which is kind of scoring points, a different way to win versus just defeat everybody or just get to the goal. So it's more like a survival mode, which is definitely interesting. So there are 4 purple tiles down there just to make sure those are of note. That is one thing I did like in the updated version. They listed what tiles were on there. Then Batman did that even better by stepping in and having numbers or letters in there to show you, oh, this is tile 8, goes right here. So you have to try and figure it out. Alright, so the bonus Kickstarter campaign is Bebop and Rocksteady Destroy Everything. I don't think the actual separate comic book was out at the time. They actually have the IDW comic book called Bebop and Rocksteady Destroy Everything. But I don't think this was out that was out anywhere near the time this game was made. So we have some enhanced villains. Enhanced minions are unique, powerful minions, and villains may choose to spawn during the balance of normal villains of its type by paying a cost, usually focus. This may be done during the initial setup, as long as the cost is paid. Enhanced minions may only be spawned once per battle. Once an enhanced minion is killed, they're gone for the rest of the battle. Ooh, so that's kind of a neat idea. That your villain player can spend extra to summon better characters. That's kind of cool. So there we have tile 5A. And 1A. Now, where does it specify? Yeah, I'm not sure what the enhanced minions are. So it doesn't really specify that. Interesting. And then we have Bebop and Rocksteady. My guess is actually we're probably summoning. Yeah, so then mention this enhanced minions again. Alright, so this was Something's Fishy. I didn't read battle number 2. So we have Alopex. And some foot ninjas. So unless there's one of her cards, if there's a villain card maybe that says enhanced minions, I'd have to double check. But yeah, I didn't specify anything about enhanced villains. Alright, so that's what we had for that. I'm going to double check that extra rule book. There's a picture of Kevin Eastman's shop again in Northampton. So if you recall that as being a thing, the backer stuff from all the awesome people that worked on this, and that cool artwork. Alright, I could go look this up online, but I missed it, so just to point out for anybody else, so the Elite Bruisers for the last mission are Bebop and Rocksteady. So they had their special cards here, and they say cost 2 focus to enhance the Enhanced Bruiser Foot Clan. So basically, once per game, you can opt to pay 2 focus to bring one or both of these guys in each. Send their cards about there, they'll have their stats, their abilities, and all that. Instead of the regular Bruiser. But then once they're defeated, they're out. So it's kind of neat, you can bring these guys in. They also have, in the Kickstarter version, they had the human forms of these characters, which you can then have initially just come in as alt sculpts as well for regular footmen, or regular gunners and thugs, which is kind of neat as well. The other thing I did want to just show while I'm showing off cards here is since this is the only AI-ish card in the game, because the updated Changes Constant City Fall version have actual AI versions for like every character. This is how the Moses works. All Moses activate at the end of each player's round and move towards the nearest non-KO'd hero with the lowest life plus defense stat. After movement, each hero adjacent to the Moses suffers melee strike with equal to the number of Moses adjacent to that hero. Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. So they work a little bit differently. The differences, and I don't have the miniatures with me, these guys aren't small, so they don't take up multiple spaces like the other Moses do. The other Moses are so small you can put 3, I think, on a tile. These guys are a little bit bigger, so they don't. So there was an optional card that you could get that they printed off. I should have looked that up quick. See if I have a pic. See if I still have that. Alright, found it. So this is the updated version that the actual creator posted to use the Mosers from the old game, the Shadows of the Past, with the newer version. Because they're a little bit bigger and they don't take up as much spot. So all oversized Mosers receive 1 free move at the start of their turn. Share line of sight with all other stock gang figures. In addition, enemy figures treat oversized Mosers as 2 figures when breaking away or rolling away for blocking. So basically you can have the little tiny mouses, which all three of them can sit at a spot, or you could use these figures that are a little bit bigger and have one per spot, but they have special rules as well. But they're only AI versions. They didn't make like full deck versions to be added in. But still, it's definitely an interesting, cool thing they did. So the last thing I want to show off for this video is we just had some, as long as we're showing some Kickstarter stuff, we had some Kickstarter ally cards. So we had Kevin Eastman, because they didn't remake these cards for the updated game, so they stayed exclusive to that. But yeah, to focus on this card, during a battle you may spend 1 focus, start of the turn, use 1 unused non-blocking prop token on the map until the end of this battle. And then the other one was Fugicoid. Take 2 focus and put them on any object. The map that have a focus check associated with them. The difficulty is reduced by 1 for each focus during this object. And I guess I would have imagined Fugicoid may have became a character if they would have continued the game, because he later on, with him and as Dr. Honeycutt, became a figure in the game, in the IDW storyline. So he probably would have eventually shown up if they'd done like another year or 2 of this, or a bunch of expansions. Alright, so that's what we have for the Shadows of the Past. Check out the other 2 videos. Check out the Batman. If there's anything else like this with another game that you might like to see some of the other components or more things, definitely let me know. Alright, see you guys later. Bye.